Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Random Redshirt podcast. I am one of the hosts, Zach. And as always, the other host is Chris. What's up,
Oh,
buddy?
hello, my great friend Zach. Hello, everyone around the world, like in the solar system, and watching from Antarctica, maybe watching from the island of 27 people that I'm going to have to go to for work later,
Maybe,
which I
maybe
shall
they,
tell you about offline, my friend.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, maybe. I'm thinking at some point, Chris, you're going to be like, yes, and all of those watching at Alpha Centauri, and
Ah,
you're going to keep expanding out. Who knows? We'll keep focusing on getting the Earthlings here to watch, but
hmm.
maybe sometime we'll get somebody from another planet out there. Maybe, perhaps.
We will.
Yeah.
And that would be epic.
It would be a strange new world, would it not?
It'd be a strange new world. Hey, Atlas, the comet, that interstellar object Atlas 3I,
Yeah.
I think that's when it's on its way. We'll find out what it is. Maybe they'll be watching.
Isn't that the one where they said like, oh, it might come kind of close to Earth, and I don't know, it's like a high interest object or something they're tracking.
It is, yeah, it
Yeah.
is high interest. It's a 4 out of 10 on the Loeb scale, where like Professor Loeb from Harvard, he's a Harvard astrophysicist, has a scale on whether they think it's a technological device or a natural device, 10 being technological, 0 being completely natural. And at the moment, he's rating it as a 4. So you can learn about that.
You said the what scale? The Loeb scale?
Loeb scale. He created the scale.
That sounds like something a Ferengi came up with. The Loeb scale. She said that. I had no idea what that was,
I
but
know.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, everybody, thank you so much as always for watching and listening all over the globe and the interwebs. We very much appreciate you tuning in to us. We're a couple of nerdy guys who like talk about all things nerdy. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube if you're listening to the audio version of this. And if you're on YouTube, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and find all of our episodes on your favorite podcast platform. And there's also video versions of this episode and others on the YouTube channel if you're listening to us in an audio only format. So, Chris, here we are, man. We are up to episode number 9 out of 10 of Strange New World season 3. Next week is the season finale. Can you believe it? I've said this on other episodes and I'm going to keep saying it because I'm just astonished at how quickly these seasons go, being that we only get 10 episodes.
Yeah, the seasons go by lightning fast. It feels like really quick. You have to really appreciate the seasons while they're here. Um, but yeah. Yeah, it's a real different feeling from like you'd have a Strange New Worlds season compared to a TNG season,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, the NFL season's longer than the Strange New World season, isn't it? Isn't it?
Well, the NFL season's
Considering.
longer than a lot of things now. I mean, these pro sports seasons get longer and longer. It seems like they're playing from
Indeed.
like
Yeah.
February to yeah, it just never ends, it seems like. But yeah, and first week of NFL is this season. The
Mm-hmm.
season was today, the
Today.
first full
Today.
week
Mm-hmm.
for almost every team. So that was fun. Been fun watching some football today for those of you who are sports fans. Those of you who are not, you're like, yay, sports. So, but yeah, it's wild, man. And here we are. It's September 6th at the time of this recording. This episode will come out September 7th. And we don't want to miss. No, it's not September 6th, is it? No, it's September
September
7th.
7th
Sorry.
today. Yeah.
Today is September 7th. We don't want to miss that tomorrow is Star Trek Day at the time of this recording, September 8th, Monday, September 8th, which is tomorrow for us when this episode will premiere. This episode will premiere on Star Trek Day. So happy Star Trek Day to all of you out there watching and listening. September 8th, 1966, we got the very first episode of Star Trek entitled The Man Trap. Because if you all remember, the original pilot did not air on TV until I believe it was the 1980s. We never actually got that. So the first episode was in 1966.
The man trap. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty wild, huh?
That is wild.
59
Man.
years this year. And next year is I guess the next big anniversary, which would be the big 60th anniversary of Star Trek. Um, And it wasn't just not that long ago we had the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. So here
Hmm.
we are. We get each year it keeps passing faster and faster, and it just seems like we keep celebrating bigger and bigger anniversaries as this franchise continues to go on, and in a good way, not on and on like just drags on and on, but in a good way. And I think about this, Chris, as I've gone to these conventions over the years. I try to do my best to enjoy the conventions and enjoy meeting the people that I meet because one there's going to be a day where a lot of these folks and all of them will be gone. They won't be around anymore. They won't be around to talk about the shows. There won't be any cast members left from TNG. There certainly won't be any of the TOS cast members left, which there's only 3 of them left right now. There won't be any DS9 cast members left. I mean, there's going to be a point where these folks pass away. And so I try to enjoy that now and getting to meet people now because they won't be here one day.
Yeah, it's very important to cherish what we have right now, isn't it? And enjoy that. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
enjoy. As a
absolutely.
matter of fact, as Captain Picard said in The Inner Light, he says, "Make now the most important because now will never come again." Very
Hmm.
good, very wise words. And we've talked many times before about The Inner Light. And I think at some point down the road, we'll probably have a deep dive on The Inner Light, and it will be a very emotional episode because that is an emotional episode, especially if you have family and you have kids. It's very emotional.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, my friend.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, okay, let's jump into Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 9, entitled Terrarium, written by Alan McElroy and directed by Andrew Coates or Coates. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his last name, so I apologize, Andrew, if I butchered your name. Uh, we did discuss, a couple episodes ago, we did discuss the final few episode titles.
Yeah.
And I remember we talked about some predictions that we had for this episode based on the title alone. And how closely do you think that our predictions were for this based on what we have seen now that the episode is out?
I actually think it was pretty close. I think you had the idea that it would have something to do with the Gorn on
Mhm.
Terrarium, and I absolutely think this is really really close to the prediction. I know when we were talking initially and you were talking about the title, you were like, okay, it's not quite what you thought it would be,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
but I think nah, when I think about it, I think it's really close to what you were predicting, like in a different way, right? There is Gorn, and then there is the aspect of everyone was being watched by a third party, by the Metrons,
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah. So I
So
think it
like
was a great prediction. Yeah.
Ortegas and the Gorn were in the terrarium, right? And they were being watched,
Yeah.
like you would if you had a creature or something in the terrarium yourself as a pet. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. But it wasn't the Gorn in the way we might have thought it was going to be, right? I mean, I don't think that the Gorn appearance in this wasn't what I expected. Certainly, I expected a much different, episode with the idea that okay, this to me sounds very much like it could be a Gorn episode because of the title and what that word means. Um, and I believe, Chris, this might be the first episode in Strange New World, certainly in season 3, but I think the whole series, where we have got an episode where Ortegas was the main character of the episode.
Yeah. She was the main character of the episode. I think she did a fantastic job throughout the episode. You really felt for her.
Yeah.
She had a lot of humor, and I feel she was just a very relatable, likable character in this episode. Remember, like when we were talking about some of her previous interactions in this season, where she was insubordinate and having a
Mm,
lot of like internal issues. I'm just
yeah.
really glad this really was a different kind of coming back around to how she was near the early seasons. And so I thought she was just really, really likable in this one. Really great.
Yeah, I agree. And the conversation we had on the phone, I think it was last night, where we talked a little bit about Ortegas, right? And how the way the character was. in the first couple seasons, and she was very funny and sarcastic and witty, and obviously a heck of a pilot, and all of these things about Erica. And then this season, especially after Hegemony Part Two, where she had that traumatic experience on the Gorn ship, that changed her character. And we talked a lot about how she became very insubordinate, very um, just very different, I guess, for a lack of better words.
Yeah, there was a lot of anger in her,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah. Bitter, I think would be
mhm,
another one. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's good. That was all in there. And so and I remember the end of one of those episodes where she looks in the window and she sees the reflection of the Gorn like
Mm.
behind her in the window, right? So I was actually very glad that this was kind of this was a very deliberate episode, kind of taking what had happened to her earlier in the season, bringing it back, putting her in this circumstance where she has to face her biases. She has to completely like overcome this. And so I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad that they did it.
Yeah, I agree. This episode I thought was really, really well written. I thought it was very well directed. So hats off to Alan and Andrew for their writing and their directing of this episode. Uh, I have mentioned on the past two episodes my thoughts on how I felt about the four and a half Vulcans and then the What is Starfleet episode. I think
Mhm.
we agreed pretty much entirely on our thoughts and feelings of What is Starfleet. The four and a half Vulcans, I think we had some agreements, but overall, I think we had a little bit of a different view on where that stood in our mind. But I think this episode, they've really come back from the last two. And I feel from a writing perspective that this was a pretty decent home run of an episode overall. And it's interesting because the beginning of this episode, we start out with a little bit of a silly idea, right? This idea that there's something going on, and the answer is to just send Lieutenant Ortegas off in a shuttle by herself to explore.
Remember we were talking about that last
Yeah.
night where
Yeah.
so yes, Ortegas gets in this huge predicament in the shuttle, right? And so she's stranded on the other side of a wormhole, who knows where. And then
Yeah.
and then someone comes up with who was it? Then they start talking about like after she's stranded, they start talking about, oh, we should go like we're gonna send in some probes.
Yeah, that was
We're gonna
that was
see.
Uhura, I think, right?
Yeah.
Because she was
Yeah.
she was hell bent on finding. I mean, her and Ortegas are really good friends. She was hell bent on rescuing her friend.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, probes? Now you're gonna send in the probes? Like, why wasn't that like the first thing you do to go in
Yeah,
and send in probes to investigate this gravitational like anomaly that is of interest? Like,
yeah,
but no, you decide to send in send in the pilot in the
right.
shuttlecraft. Let's go do this.
Yeah, and not just any shuttlecraft. So it's stripped down, and by stripping it down, there is a because we don't know what was stripped down in the shuttle. There was the potential that things that she could have used for surviving were discarded in the hopes of making the shuttle, I guess, lighter or more. I don't even know exactly what the purpose was of stripping down the shuttle, why that would have
Mhm.
mattered going through this wormhole. The shuttle wasn't very big, but for whatever reason, stripping it down, I guess, made the most sense. And I thought it was interesting that Ortegas mentioned something about how, oh, yeah, I'm going to go fly it around and there's going to be so much data. It's going to be coming out your ears in reference to Spock. And I'm like, oh, so she's making Vulcan ear jokes now. Interesting. Okay. Very
Yeah.
classic Ortegas, though. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah. She said, "Hey, that's just an expression."
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like my wife was watching at the same time and she didn't like that humor. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So it's interesting how that lands with different like viewers on how they
Yeah.
see that. Yeah.
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 Well, I think too, if you look at Four and a Half Vulcans, right? The last episode we just talked about,
Hmm.
how that episode, I think the humor would have landed differently with folks. There was some things in there where I was just like, I didn't find that particularly funny. I know you thought it was hilarious the way Pike changed his voice and tone and everything all over the episode. Uh, there were very fun, like Pike was really funny as a Vulcan. Don't get me wrong, but there was a few moments where I'm like, why is he going from talking really loud and shouting to more normal and calm? It was very inconsistent to me. So I do think those types of things tend to land differently with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Yeah. All good though. All good. All good.
Yeah. So we had this conversation too last night because I couldn't remember, and you were right. It is a gas giant. I couldn't remember if it was a gas giant or if it was a star, and mentioned how it made no sense for
Yeah.
her to be out walking around this close to a star. She would be dead from the heat and the radiation, but it's a gas giant, and it's surrounded by all these asteroids and moons. This is where she gets pulled by the wormhole, and she's gone, right? And they're all freaking out because here she is, she's gone. They don't know where she went. I mean, a wormhole could go anywhere, as we know in Star Trek, right? This wormhole opens up. They didn't know it was going to be there, and all of a sudden, you know, she's gone. And her shuttle crashes on this moon body, of some kind, in orbit of this giant gaseous planet, and it's really really close to this gas giant.
Yeah, very close. In fact, like when we were talking last night, like because part of it is she's trying to figure out what's the orbit of this moon, this small body that's around this gas giant. And she keeps saying, "Hey, this looks bigger." And those gas clouds look like they're coming near. Like in the background on some shots, it just looks like the gas clouds are approaching, are approaching, are approaching.
Right.
But but they don't quite get to her, but they look like they're moving fast. Right.
They look like they're moving like the pyroclastic cloud in Dante's Peak. They're moving
Ah,
so fast, and then you're standing there and you're watching, you're like, those look like they're moving really really fast, and she's just like hanging out chilling. I mean, like, don't they're gonna be here soon, right? Didn't make sense to me. That part,
right.
from I guess, a scientific perspective, didn't really make sense to me. And then the other thing was, okay, so she crashes on this moon body of some type, right?
Hmm.
And obviously, as an audience, we have to pretty much push the "I believe" button that there's a breathable atmosphere. So I don't understand how Ortegas could breathe. You don't see an atmosphere. And I could understand more if she was really winded as she's walking around, or if she's having to run or whatever, like she's out of breath. She's really having a hard time because it's a very low atmosphere, very thin atmosphere. Did you see any signs of any atmosphere whatsoever on this body? Because I certainly did not.
There was no atmospheric distress for
So,
yeah.
yeah, so we had to push the "I win" button, or "I believe"
I
button, in order
believe it.
to believe that there was something for her to breathe, because it just didn't it wasn't registering to me. So that's really, those are the couple of just maybe kind of minor things that I had issues with in the episode,
Yeah.
that you didn't see those things, because she just walks out and, okay, yep, I guess it's lifeless there supposedly, and yeah, sure, we'll go ahead and believe that she's breathing normally like she's on Earth. Sure, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Some of the things that observed or that I shared with you last night as well that I thought were kind of funny in a way where you know how vaccines like come up here and there in Star Trek. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
on this one,
Medical supplies.
medical supplies, yeah. On this one, Ortegas is stranded. They've got to, they don't, they're trying to find her, but they need to get vaccines to the Starship constellation to
Yeah.
save colonists. Yet again, we've had that before, that conundrum before, where that the Enterprise has had to get vaccines to somewhere. Oh, and the Starship constellation that is referenced in this episode, the captain is Captain Decker. So I don't know if there was like intention on naming the captain Captain Decker, but Captain Decker from Star Trek the Motion Picture. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, that's is it the same Decker? I
I
mean,
don't
we
know.
we
Yeah.
we've all, we
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
ever see him in motion picture, right?
Yeah.
So motion picture would be post TOS,
Hmm.
right? The
Yeah.
post TOS series, and Decker is in the motion picture, Decker is originally in command of the Enterprise, right? And then he gets bumped out for Kirk, for Admiral Kirk, to go on do this mission. Um, so he's the captain of the Constellation now, and then he becomes the captain of the Enterprise. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't take it as he was the I didn't take it as the same person,
The
but
same
I
one.
yeah, I
Maybe it
thought,
is. I
oh,
mean, maybe it is. I mean, they you could argue that being the captain of one ship, but then becoming the captain of the flagship of the Federation would be technically a promotion minus the moving of rank.
mhm.
Maybe
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll
yeah,
push the I believe button again on that one.
yeah.
Um, yes, very interesting. Not the first time that there has been a need to hurry up and get vaccines or get anything to somewhere else, and then all of a sudden something happens, right? It's the same thing we talked about this before with like anytime there's an episode that starts out with, well, the crew is enjoying some downtime and some shore leave, instantly you know that's going to get canceled because
Well,
something's going to come up, right? So we have seen this story before in that
we
regard.
have we have um and I was observing Una in this episode too. So like which was interesting because Una had the I would say the unfortunate responsibility of continuing to remind Captain Pike that, hey, we've got to get the vaccines to the colonists,
Oh yeah.
and I care about Ortegas too, but it's about 4,000 lives versus one life and all the lives in the starship. And she was reminding Captain Pike all throughout this, and I thought, wasn't Una like the one she'd go to the ends of the earth to help out Leon? I think Una would do that. So I
Yeah.
thought, I thought, oh, what an unfortunate responsibility Una had to say this. Like, oh, by the way, we're late to give this constellation an update.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't it feel like Una gave up really quickly on Erica?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Like she she didn't give up early. She didn't give up she did not give up quickly or at all on Lon.
Yeah.
Why is she so quick to dismiss? Maybe it's because Ortegas was so mouthy in that one episode where Pike's out.
Oh.
And so remember she had to call her
Yeah.
into the conference room and discipline her, say, you can't do that or whatever. Maybe she's like, well, she's insubordinate disobedience. So yep, well, we can't wait around for her any longer. I don't know what the deal was, but I did. I felt like I'm like, why is she giving up so quickly on her? She's adamant, Chris. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, the vaccines have to get there, right? But she is adamant. Like, we gotta go, we gotta go. I'm like, does she have another ex-boyfriend somewhere around the wormhole she's trying to get away from, or what? Like, what is going on here?
I did. I felt that as well. I
Yeah,
was like, yeah.
this doesn't seem right to me. This doesn't seem right to me, Chris.
I mean,
But yeah.
yeah. Yeah. You know, Uhura's gonna be like, hey, man, without me, like we would have left you.
Yeah, could you imagine her takes back to the ship and she's and Uhura's like, Erica, I got something to tell you. Una wanted to just pretty much cut and run. She didn't have any interest in sticking around. She kept trying to give up and push us and get us out of here and get us out of here. And I didn't give up on you because we're friends. But that Una, let me tell you, she wanted to give up. Could
That's
you
right.
imagine that conversation?
Yep. Yep.
Oh boy. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because in this episode, I think this is one of, if not the first time, where we really see a very defiant Uhura.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised when she fudged the numbers.
Yeah.
And I want to see how you felt too. Like, so I mean, she was right there with Spock and Pike, and Pike's going, "Hey, what does the scenario look like? What do the simulations look like?" And he says, "Well, if it's over 60% like success, we can do it." And then she fudged it right there.
Yeah. It was like what, 56 or
Yeah,
57% or something like that. And so she bumped it up to 61.
yeah. So I was surprised about that, and so that made me feel I can't put my finger on how to call it, but how to name it, but it did make me feel like uneasy, like like Uhura did that, she just did that, and I don't know, how'd you feel about it?
I felt like it was another tally mark in season three, and I think if season three had a theme, Chris, it would be season three's banner title or theme across the whole season would be one word, and that is defiance. Because
Defiance. Hmm.
it seems like every
Interesting.
episode, one of the main characters is disobeying orders, and as much as I hate to say it, okay, now I want to get your input on this
Yeah.
because I've been kind of thinking about this as we've been going through each episode of season three. I almost feel like as the season's gone on, Pike and a little bit of Una, but Pike is kind of losing control of his crew a little bit. And I don't mean they're mutiny, they're going to cause a mutiny or anything like this. Although there was that one scene where they're like, "Yeah, aren't we kind of sort of starting a small mutiny or whatever?" No, 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 just kidding. But it almost kind of feels like each crew member has become more and more outspoken and more defiant and disobedient in some ways. Like, in this case with Uhura fudging the numbers. Has it felt like that to you? Because I feel like this is the season for disobeying orders. This is the season for defiance and disobedience that we just didn't see that much of really in season one and two. And so it
This,
does feel
yeah.
like, yeah, it does feel like Pike is kind of losing his grip a little bit on his crew, and maybe I don't know, I wouldn't say softened up, but I just kind of feel like the crew feels more comfortable challenging his orders and things. Has any of that crossed your mind at all in this season?
Or maybe, yeah, yeah, there's a little bit, I feel similar to you, a little bit of too much, where he's too relaxed or too casual. Um, I, yeah, that scene with Uhura and Pike and the fudging the numbers there did like surprise me because he, like as we found out later, a few minutes later, like he knew that she was already fudging the numbers. He knew that.
Yeah.
So, but like he still, was deciding uh to go for it and to search for Ortegas. And maybe he would have decided like, hey, he's gonna have a separate conversation with like Uhura later. Like if she
Mhm.
didn't bring it forward, he'd have a private conversation with her on that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know I'm not quite sure how to make it either, but I feel similar to you.
Yeah. I mean, we know Pike tells Uhura that, well, they were going to go try to find Ortegas anyways, right? But let's say they weren't. Let's say that was just like Pike says, you know what? Una's, number one, Una, she's right. Like we've got to go because there are thousands and thousands of lives here at stake, right? And she fudges the numbers. Now, obviously, this wouldn't happen in the show, but she fudges the numbers, and the Enterprise is destroyed, and Ortegas is left stranded there, and maybe she gets back via the Gorn or whatever.
Hmm.
Uhura would have been responsible for killing the entire ship to save Ortegas because she fudged the numbers. I mean, that's a seriousness of that decision that she made, not knowing that Pike would later discover that she did, and his mind had already been made up before Uhura had done that. So
Yeah.
to me, that's a little telling. It tells me that maybe the crew of the Enterprise, at least the bridge crew, and maybe I'm being extreme here when I say this, but it kind of tells me that they don't fully respect Pike's orders all the time. They follow orders when they agree with them. And when they don't, they do things that are in defiance of those orders at times. Not
Mm.
always. They don't do it for everything, but certain things. Like, in this case, Uhura and Ortegas are very close friends, right? And they've grown their friendship has grown over the course of the show so far. And so because it's her friend, she is so desperate to save her that she's willing to risk all of the lives of the Enterprise by fudging those numbers. So to me, there's some telling decisions that are made by some of these main characters in this season.
Yeah. It gets into now that I think about Uhura a little bit deeper. Um, you know, she always wanted to be in Starfleet. Starfleet was her thing. She is so excited to be in there, right? That's a huge part of
Yeah.
her life. So it gets into a lot of like um, kind of the ethics and transparency of her like providing the accurate data to her captain. Like,
Yeah.
she didn't like
Right.
when he asked, and so um, that kind of puts at risk, the crew, just like you said. Um, but I'm also thinking about that episode, What is Starfleet, where we learned that her like best friend in the academy was the one, she learns that her best friend was killed. What-
Yeah.
You know, so this,
In an awful way too.
yeah, in an
Like,
awful way. Yeah. So this predicament with Ortegas, I'm sure she probably is carrying all that in her mind, like emotionally, and that probably like influenced her to do that. But it just really struck me as like, hey, that doesn't seem like what a Starfleet officer would do.
right. And we've seen that in several situations in this show, right? With officers on the
Hmm.
Enterprise doing those things.
Yeah.
So a little bit telling. I think um, New Trek, I think, has been more willing to do that versus Legacy Trek. We don't see that as often. I think Gene Roddenberry's vision that he had that carried through, I think pretty much all the Legacy Trek shows for the most part was, members of the ship and the crew followed orders, right? And they did that. We have one-off things here and there, but in general, like on TNG, you didn't see uh Worf on the bridge fudge something or do something in order to make Picard, decide what he wanted the captain to do. Things like that, right? So a different take, I think. I don't know. I don't necessarily know that I hate it, but I don't necessarily know that I like it either. So just something we, kind of been on my mind. For those of you watching or listening, let us know what you think. Do you feel like the crew of the Enterprise has been a little more defiant this season, or in general on this show versus other Star Trek series? Curious on your thoughts on that one. Um, Now, in the previous episodes, we have seen Ortegas building and putting together what looks like some type of bike, motorcycle of some kind or something in her quarters, right? She's
Oh,
got all this
okay.
stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
So, not only is she a good pilot, she's also very mechanically sound. She's good with her hands, she's good with building things and fixing things. And what I didn't realize, and I don't know if they were using that to set this episode up or if they just played off of that, but that element of the character very much comes in handy on this, you know, asteroid planet body thing that she's on.
It sure does. She crafted a water condenser
Hmm.
to help her get water, and she crafted a universal translator.
Yeah.
These are very much skills that we would expect from the miracle worker, from
Yeah,
Scotty.
right. Scotty wasn't there though.
Oh, Scotty wasn't there. So
Yeah.
Ortegas has some great skills there.
Yeah. I thought the water condenser thing was awesome. She's like, I made water or whatever. And then she drinks it. And yeah, that was
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, I kind of understood the idea where she says that, it's pulling moisture out of the air or something and to make, and the water's, the liquid, the moisture is condensing on the inside of it, and that's collecting
Yeah.
and making water. So that was interesting as well. But um, that was really crafty that she did that, right? And so we know she's able to make water, but now she's got to go outside the ship and find some source of food. And that's where things start to get really hairy.
Yeah. She's searching out and not able to find food. And she's, you know, then the gas planet and the gas clouds are getting closer, so she's looking for shelter at the same time, and she finds something. She finds like what looks like to be a shelter, and she goes to explore that. And it is the shelter of the Gorn, the other Gorn pilot.
Now, did you expect the Gorn to be female? I did not. I expected when the Gorn first showed up that it was some killer hunter Gorn like we've seen in all the other Gorn episodes. I did not expect it to be female, which was interesting too.
It didn't surprise me to be female. So
Okay.
yeah,
It very much surprised me. I was like,
surprised
oh,
you.
okay. I was like, well, that changes the whole dynamic of things here, right? So maybe this particular Gorn isn't as much of a killer, isn't after to get after. I mean, the Gorn could have easily killed Ortegas and eaten her, but she didn't. I mean, seriously, she
Yeah.
didn't though, right? So
Yeah. Well, you made a like a really good point last night when we were talking about this show. Did some things to humanize the aspect of the Gorn,
yes,
humanize the Gorn, make it relatable to us, make the Gorn relatable to Ortegas. So that's what that's what this did.
yeah,
Uh, yeah.
it made us have empathy for the Gorn too, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
I think that was a big thing, especially because all we've seen from the Gorn so far in this series is crazy evil monsters that are out to hunt and kill everything in sight. Very alien-esque, right? Like the Alien franchise. They are the xenomorphs of the Star Trek, franchise in this show so far. And I think by by the way in which this episode was written, it completely flips all of that on its head because of what we see in the interactions between this Gorn and Ortegas.
Yeah. The Gorn actually, I think, saved Ortegas's life, I
Yes.
believe, from the pit monster.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, the Gorn
Yep.
saved her.
And that pit monster looked very, very much like a massive giant centipede, like very menacing. And then the Gorn like grabs that thing by the neck or something and then kills it.
Yeah.
And I think it at one point it throws part of it at Ortegas, like the head or I don't know, something like that. And she goes to eat it, and Ortegas like, just close your eyes and pretend it's something else. And just
Yeah.
eat. You're hungry. You just eat it. And then she does, and you see her take a bite of it, and you're just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It
mean, I guess
was.
if you're starving, man, you got to do what you got to do to survive, right? But ooh, I don't know if I could eat that. That'd be really tough.
It would. I like how she named the dish Pit Monster Sushi. That
Yeah.
I liked. I liked.
That was good. Yes, that was
Yeah.
good.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna name
Oh,
all of my dishes is gonna be Pit Monster Sushi.
dude, I am so slow on the upkeep. I just realized in your text message when you said you were finishing cooking the pit monster sushi, I just realized I just now made that connection when you texted me earlier.
All good.
Uh, I'm a bit slow on the upkeep
No,
apparently.
no, no.
Um, yeah,
It's good. It's good.
yeah. No, but it's interesting. So there's this shelter, right? She discovers this Gorn, but she doesn't have any phaser. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so you're off to explore,
Oh,
right, in this shuttle. And even though you're off exploring, you don't expect to crash land anywhere. I mean, wouldn't you take a phaser and some other things like that for just in case? I mean, a lot of shuttles that we know in Star Trek typically come with a couple of weapons and things inside them. And it's like a weapons locker or something inside the thing. Isn't that
agree.
normally how those things work?
Agree. Totally. But all she
I don't
had
know.
was a knife and a fire cube. I think that's what
Yeah,
she said.
yeah, something like that. And you're just like, what? What is going on here? Um, it just she was so unprepared for this to happen, obviously. And I'm thinking to myself, she could have been more prepared if the shuttle had just had the things in it that were there in case of emergency, like maybe some emergency field rations. We all love the emergency field rations, they taste wonderful. Or some phasers or something. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, I wonder if that was some of the stuff that was stripped out of the shuttle. And
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
her mind, she's like, maybe I shouldn't have stripped the shuttle down as much as I did.
Yeah. Well, the rations were burned. I think when she
Yeah,
landed
that's
and
right.
yeah,
That's
the
right.
rations were
That's
burned.
yeah, that's
But
right.
you're absolutely right. Like on the phasers, like of the things you want to strip out of the shuttle, like you will probably want to keep your emergency survival gear.
And she was able to make a universal translator and a water condenser. Is she wasn't able to make something that just shot something out like a phaser type or something for some kind of defense? I mean, I don't. She's very handy. She can certainly build things. I would have thought that'd have been, you know, some idea of doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure, Chris, if you were in Starfleet and you were on a shuttle mission, especially by yourself, no matter, even if it was just like a survey or something, you were flying in space, there was no way you were going to land anywhere. Wouldn't you still take something? I mean, what happens if you're out there and you get boarded by some alien species? They transport on. Don't you want something for protection? Like, I just that just shocks me that she didn't have something besides the knife on her like that.
Absolutely. You have to have something for self-defense.
Yes.
Something.
I mean, obviously, if she had the phaser, that would have made things the plot would have been a lot different, and things wouldn't have been nearly as dire, right? She'd have had that self defense, but that just
Yeah.
surprises me that there was no phaser or anything like that on the shuttle.
I mean, the Gorn was much more prepared.
Yeah,
At least the Gorn had like that's something, this personal shield and something that they could use to protect itself.
that's
Totally.
true. That's true. Yeah. And I'm also thinking to myself, there's probably a Starfleet regulation for this somewhere that she violated, right? By not having a phaser. Like, isn't that there has to be a Starfleet regulation for having weapons or some kind of self-defense tools on board your shuttle when you go on an away mission, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is like, I'm sure, she said survival 101 or something to that effect, right? So I don't think, I think they need to go retake the class at the academy.
Yes.
It's an important class.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting into these predicaments in Starfleet, right?
Everybody.
So they need to take more, they need to retake the class. Yeah.
How many times in Star Trek episodes have we heard somebody quote something about Starfleet regulations when it comes to away teams and beaming down and shuttle? All the time, right?
Yeah.
So clearly Ortegas either fell asleep in class that day or skipped that day at the academy or something because clearly she didn't get the note on this one. I don't know what's going on here, but I don't know. So yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting. So while she's on the planetoid body thing, making friends with the Gorn and playing chess and tending to the
Yeah.
wound of the Gorn leg, uh, we get a funny scene on the bridge of the Enterprise where Spock is in the captain's chair and Una and Pike are up front. And Pike says something to the effect of, well, I guess I'll pilot because I guess I'm the best pilot left or something. I think Una says something, some really snarky thing like, "Oh yeah, Chris, you always find a way to remind us of that." I don't remember what the exact
Yeah,
line
that's how
is,
it took
right?
it too.
But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah,
yeah, we've never heard that before. Something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I did enjoy that, like seeing that. So,
Okay, so I did have a problem with Una calling the captain Chris on the bridge in front of
hmm.
Spock and others. Like, we know you're the first officer, Una, but like, let's have a level of some sense of protocol here. Like, you're on the bridge, he's the captain. You probably should call him Captain or Captain Pike and not Chris. Like, that's something for, and we've had this discussion
Yeah,
before about in Star Trek, right? Like, save that discussion for in the conference room or when you're in private where you're having those uh first name basis conversations like Pike did with Admiral April.
yeah, yeah,
But not on the bridge in front of the other crew, and certainly not calling him that, and especially in the right. I mean, Spock's right there. Spock doesn't call him Chris. Spock calls him Captain.
yeah. I,
So I didn't like that. I don't know if you felt that way or not, but
I did feel that way, and especially like this, like we said, like we were thinking before, Una in this episode is so much about like, hey, I have to advise against this, and
hmm
we need to go rendezvous with the constellation, and we need to do this, and um, she's I don't know that Una in this episode gave a helpful suggestion on how to rescue Ortegas. I
Mm.
think all of her interactions were, "Hey Chris, don't forget. Hey Captain Pike. Hey Chris, don't forget about your other responsibility, right?" And I've got to keep advising you that you've got to do this really
Yeah.
aggressively. I think.
I'm gonna do a little bit of a hot take here, but maybe
Yeah,
it's not a hot take, and that is I don't feel like Una added a lot of value to this episode other than just doing stuff like that.
yeah,
And that to me is a little bit of a miss, right? Because she's the second in command, and she's calling him by his first name, and she's incessant on telling him, "Well, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. The vaccines, the vaccines, the vaccines," and you're just like. Oh, yeah, I got it. Thanks, Una. Like, okay, cool.
yeah.
Okay, you don't need to remind me every 5 seconds. Thank you. I said if I had been the captain, it's probably what I would have been. I'd have been like,
Yeah.
I got it, number one. Thanks. All right. Yeah, I know the vaccines. Yeah. Okay. Before you say anything, yes, the vaccines, I know. Like just like give her the Heisman pose, stiff armor, and be like, I got it, Una. I got it. Go fix something in engineering if you're not going to be helpful here on the bridge. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't find that she added a lot of value there other than just pressuring the captain to leave.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. And
I was
even
feeling that too. Yeah.
yeah, and then even when is it Spock? I think he says something effective. There's like 396 moons that we have to scan, and it's going to take approximately X amount of hours, and they don't have that much time. And then there's Uno like, well, we don't got much time, Chris. We got to get out of here. We got the vaccines. We're like, oh my gosh, thank you. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, Una. And this is not a slide at Rebecca Romaine. I mean, she's doing what's in the script and what she's being directed to do. I just didn't feel. I mean, I felt like they could have used her character in a better way than just bugging the captain to leave.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there could have been other techniques used to remind the captain about you know, the pandemic and, the urgency for the vaccine. Could have
yeah,
been other things, but I mean, whether they missed the rendezvous with the constellation by 6 hours or a day,
yeah.
would it have mattered? I don't know.
I mean, they made it seem like they had to have those vaccines right then and there at that rendezvous time, because if not, they weren't going to get them to the colonists or whatever. And maybe it sounded like it was dire, and if they didn't get them there in this certain time, then people were going to die. So clearly, there was some level of direness to the situation, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I could have understood if Una was like, Captain, we have 20 minutes left. We've got to get out of here. We're not going to make the rendezvous. Versus just, well, we got these vaccines, we got these vaccines. Like, I think you're right. I think there could have been a little bit of a different approach in a way in which Una handled the situation to not try and just pressure the captain to leave. I mean, it was
Yeah.
obvious. It was obvious he was going to stay until the absolute last second, and even potentially a little bit longer than that, because Ortegas was important. She was part of the crew. She was the pilot. She flies the ship, right? So that made sense.
It did make, yeah, this is weird because like when Una was having her crisis, either like maybe in season two, I think when they found out her heritage, her Una's ethnicity, you know,
Oh yeah, season
yeah,
two. Yeah, because
yeah,
that was when the trial and everything was. Yeah,
the trial, you know, Captain Pike goes all in, right, to help his crew members.
yeah,
So, ah, I'm feeling you.
yeah.
I'm feeling
Uh,
you.
I
Yeah.
agree. Um, I really like the writing and the direction that they took with Uhura from the emotional perspective, because you could really tell she was emotionally distraught with Erica being lost and them not being able to find her. And then at the end, when I think they're just about ready to leave or something like that, she gets really emotional, and Pike basically tells her, "Yeah, we got to go," or something along those lines. And so you can really see here the depth of friendship that Uhura and Ortegas have built. And this is going to go back to, okay, we know we have a season 4 and a season 5 still to come. Ortegas is not a legacy character. La'an is not a legacy character. Pelia is not a legacy character. Um, neither was Hemmer, and they killed him off. I have concerns, and I'm worried about what's going to happen to some of these non-legacy characters. And when you have friendships built like you do with Una and Lon, and with Uhura and Ortegas, and it makes you wonder, is there going to be some significant emotional event in either season 4 or season 5 where one of these non-legacy characters is going to die? And
Hope
that's what
not.
that
Yeah,
I
hope
hope not
not.
either, but that concerns me.
Yeah, I hope they just like either get transferred or they're promoted to like a different ship. Yeah. That'd
Yeah.
be good.
What did you think about Ortegas's decision to make the big fireball in the planet? And then I think it was Uhura said something like only Erica would set a planet on fire to get our attention.
Yeah, the um I thought that decision was probably like in line with something Ortegas would do, right? Or someone would do in that desperate like situation. Um I I think Uhura's though reaction um where she goes, it's Erica. I know it's Erica, right? Or that was her reaction at that moment. And then I think earlier she said, "Hey, I've got faith that Erica's alive. I can feel it." And then also like I think throughout or another part of the episode, like you hear Uhura praying in Swahili.
Hmm.
Um, so there's quite a bit of that of like Uhura like leaping to faith on like what she was feeling, right? Saying, "Hey, this is Erica. I know she's alive. I can feel it." Or I know that fireball was like created by Erica. I know it. Um, so it did stand out to me, and I'm still trying to feel or understand like how I feel about that actually, because that was a lot of like for Uhura, like she's jumping to like her faith and how she's feeling. So that kind of
Yeah.
stood out there. How about you?
Um, yeah, I think I like that Uhura was as emotional as she was because again, we get to see the depth of the friendship
Hmm.
between her and Ortegas. I didn't like the sneakiness that Uhura did
All
to
right.
get
Yeah.
the captain to do what she wanted him to do. It seems like it almost seems like the characters, if they don't get what they want, they attempt to do things in order to what's the word I'm looking for? Influence the captain or to manipulate the captain in a way to have him make the decision they want him to make.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen that several different times in Strange New Worlds. So I'm not really a huge fan of that because at the end of the day, it's like, okay, does that mean the captain's basically bending his knee to the crew, which obviously is dangerous? Or is it that he has enough empathy for the different characters that he makes a decision in order to do something because he believes it's in the best interest of that character and the crew and so forth? So it's kind of a little bit of a fine line that they walk there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, very interesting there. Talk to me about the dynamic between Ortegas and the Gorn. What did you think about that whole interaction between the two of them and how that kind of built up over the course of the episode?
I really liked that. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. I really liked that it was Ortegas trying to overcome like her bias, like little by little, to understand that hey, the Gorn was trying to help her, and that that dynamic was they couldn't understand each other, and so obviously from the language difference and the cultural difference, and so Ortegas trying to craft, well, she did craft the universal translator, and then they're trying to find some common ground and some things they can relate to, and then playing chess, and then them playing the Gorn game too. I think that was excellent. I shared that with you that this reminded me a lot about these are similar themes. So this there was a science fiction movie in the 1980s called Enemy Mine, where you had two starfighter pilots, one in an alien race and one in a human race, and I think not Dennis Quaid, his name will come to me, but you had them stranded on the planet together, and then they had to cooperate and learn how to survive. And I think the alien actually had a baby, and then it was the human that kind of raised the baby after the alien passed away. So that reminded me a lot about that movie, Enemy Mine. And so I'd recommend that movie for anyone that would like to see it. And then there's another movie in the 1960s based on the Pacific Theater in World War II. I think it's called Hell in the Pacific or close to that name. But Lee Marvin and another Japanese actor. But the American and Japanese soldier, they're stranded on island. They're two pilots. They crashed, and then so they've got to cooperate like to survive, and they have to get like through these um all these boundaries like through each other. So I really like that they're exploring this with the Gorn, and so this is like a full circle for Ortegas, and I think very cathartic for Ortegas. Um, and I think we definitely appreciate the Gorn. You know, it's obvious that um, the Gorn, I mean, they've got a culture, right? They've got families. They are intelligent. They study their enemy, or they study other aliens as well. And then they can cooperate, and they have emotions. So that like I really like that they could do that with the Gorn and explore that. Um, you talked about them this episode, like the way they portray the Gorn makes us have empathy for the Gorn, and it gives the Gorn like some human characteristics too, so it humanizes
Yeah.
the Gorn. So that's interesting. Um, I also think about like what there were things that Ortegas could connect to and understand with the Gorn, but it's also um, kind of interesting to think about a circumstance where if there's an alien that you couldn't relate to at all, like there was no like you just can't relate. There's no way to relate. You just have no understanding. But that wouldn't make a good episode because you wouldn't
Right.
be able to do that, right? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
always kind of interesting to think about. So I really enjoyed this dynamic. One of my favorite scenes was when, Ortegas is creating the fireball, and they're holding hands, like the fire's going all around them. They've got that makeshift
Yeah, they're
shelter.
inside the heat shield
Yeah,
from the
heat
Gorn's
shield.
crash ship, right?
Yeah.
Which is very brilliant on their part.
Yeah, it was. And it was the Gorn like holding Ortegas's hand, and the Gorn that kind of motivates Ortegas at the end. Ortegas has given up, and then the Gorn says, "No, let's." She helps Ortegas, so
Yeah.
that was great. I like that. How was your reaction? How did you like the relationship between Ortegas and the Gorn?
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought the writing was great. What I liked, and you mentioned this before, what I liked is that Ortegas had to face her fears, right? With what happened to her on the Gorn ship in Hegemony Part Two, the first episode, the season premiere of season three, really rattled her significantly. Right? I mean,
Mhm.
she was on the brink of death, right? I mean, she was bleeding out. She almost died on that ship, right? And that affected her severely throughout the course of this season. And we've seen it in her behavior. We've seen it in the way she reacts to things. We've seen it in the way she responds and treats senior officers. It changed her from this kind of fun-loving, a little sarcastic, but not out of line type of character to a way different kind of character. And I think we saw the old Ortegas in this episode. And I liked that instead of trying to do something to kill the Gorn or whatever, right? She figured out what her situation was. She did what she needed to survive. And then over the course of it, she developed some type of friendship with this Gorn, as much of a friendship as she could. Obviously, until the unfortunate ending there. And so that I thought was awesome because what they did was they took the Gorn from this creature that all we've done is seen it kill to this creature that actually protected Ortegas on a couple of different times. Erica was about ready to get snatched by one of those, pit monster creatures, one of the centipede looking things, and she saved her life. And so, and then there was another scene too. I think she did something where she kind of saved her life a little bit there too. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think they had like several pit monsters chasing Ortegas, and then
yeah,
the Gorn, she used that shield to help
that's what it was.
protect
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah. So multiple times she saved Ortegas' life, and I thought that was cool. So they build this relationship. They show a level of emotion too, with the female Gorn character. And again, it builds a level of empathy as an audience for the Gorn character and for Ortegas. And so I thought that was really wonderfully done. I mean, they could have made it where it was just, this really evil monster and they were trying to stay alive, and then they're not trying to stay alive on the surface from the other creatures and from the storms, but they're trying to stay alive from each other. But that wasn't the case. They changed that, and so the two enemies became friends, which is common. We've seen this in Star Trek before, right? TNG had the
Mhm.
episode where Geordi and the Romulan are crashing that planet, and they work together and they beam up, and Geordi's grateful, and I think the Romulan even is that way too. Um, and there's an episode in DS9 where Cisco and Ducat are stranded together, and they have the little beacon, um, and they have to kind of get along and survive. So this isn't the only time Star Trek's done this before. We've said this before. Star Trek tends to lean in on things that it already knows, and with different twists on it. But we've
Mhm.
seen this. We've seen this kind of story before. But I thought the writing in this was really spectacular. I thought whatchamacall. I thought the cleverness of Erica, I thought her wittiness was all spot on from what we've been used to seeing from her throughout the first few seasons.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I um there was an aspect of this. Let's talk about the Metrons a little
Yeah.
bit, right? And I know this connects thematically to the Toss episode, The Arena. Did I
Hmm.
get the episode right?
Yeah.
Is that the
Arena.
name of it?
Yep.
The Arena?
Yep.
And the Metrons were in that one
Hmm.
with Captain Kirk and the Gorn captain. And then this one has, Ortegas and the Gorn pilot, so two pilots. And apparently this is set up via the Metrons. The Metrons are kind of setting up this circumstance for them. Um, and then we have the Metron being like coming in at the end, and Ortegas is like saying, Why is this all happening?" And he comes and he says, "Hey, this is like doesn't look like you guys are able to get along, but maybe you do actually have the capacity to get along, but not yet." Something along to that effect.
Yeah.
I am mixed on how I feel about the Metrons being in this episode. I get it that it connects to Toss totally and the thematically and having the Metrons there, and so that totally makes sense. However, I might like to see a version where the Metrons are not in it, and it is just Ortegas, and it is just the Gorn, and it is just this circumstance, and I may feel more genuine about it. That hey, it wasn't the Metrons setting this scenario up for them. No,
Yeah.
it was just Ortegas and it was Gorn. So, because I think the episode could still stand without the Metrons in it. So how did you feel about the Metrons coming in?
Well, we have another very arrogant, godlike being in a sparkly toga.
Oh,
So we have that.
oh, he was
I don't.
pretentious, wasn't he?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, he was.
Yeah.
What he or she, whatever the heck it was, I don't know. But or it, I guess it, depending on what type of species the thing is. But it wouldn't be Star Trek without at least one godlike being wearing sparkly clothes that look like something out of a 1970s sci-fi show or movie. But in general, I would say I'll be completely transparent here. I'd
Yeah.
forgotten about the Metrons, uh, and the fact that they were in Arena because I haven't watched Arena in a long time. I mean, I've seen it before several times, but it's been so long, I'd forgotten all about that. So when I saw them, I'm like, huh, okay. So we have this godlike thing who put these creatures in
Yeah.
a place and watch them like you would creatures in a terrarium. So the name of this episode makes complete sense. And I thought the name is perfect for this episode because it does go right along with this idea, right? Um, Did I think it was necessary to have the Metrons in this? No. I don't necessarily know that they added anything to this other than the reason you're here is because we decided you were going to be here. And we've been watching you. We wanted to kind of, I don't know, be entertained by this. Like if you think about the episode that we did a review of it, a deep dive on it called The Gamesters of Triskelion. Got the name right, by the
You
way.
did? Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I worked on that quite a bit when we were doing that episode. And then after. But something similar where you had these brains down in the ground, right? And they were like, "Yeah, you're gonna battle each other for our enjoyment." Similar idea in that regard, right? The Metrons are pretty much like, "Yeah, we're gonna throw these two creatures together and see. You know, they don't get along. Let's see how this works, right?" And they watched them the whole time, and it was for their entertainment. And so I kind of feel the same way you do, Chris, where I don't know that it was necessary. And I actually think maybe it would have been a more dramatic point to have them there together without the involvement of those beings.
Hmm.
That was interesting. I did want to point out though too, doing some reading here, that Epsilon Indy 3, which would have been orbiting the real Epsilon Indy, uh, Epsilon Indy 2 and 4 appeared in TNG and Discovery. So this is a planet,
Oh,
this is a planetary system that we have heard of before
okay.
in TNG and Discovery. So interesting that they have this callback to from other shows. Um, just kind of a tidbit there, I guess. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, to go back to your question, I I'm very mixed on having these beans in this episode.
Yeah.
Because to me, having them, it's like, okay, so are we just basically copying the idea of Arena, and we're not we're not taking the idea and making it our own. We're just saying, okay, we're just going to use these, or was it done as an homage to TOS's Arena? Also, by doing that, does that mean because we meet the Metrons now that when Kirk meets them, that the Enterprise crew is gonna have heard of them before, at least the ones that are the legacy crew members.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how that works into the canon or not.
Yeah. You're right. Like, I'm assuming, like, during Erica's debrief, like, she would give everyone an update. They said, "Oh, like, by the way, I saw this, like, sparkly, like, alien, like, appear when she
Actually,
debriefed them."
maybe not, because in the episode, the Metron did say that they were going to erase her memory.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
But then back on the ship, she does remember the Gorn character. So maybe they're going to erase her memory of them. Maybe that's how they get
Yeah.
around this whole thing, right? Is it that
That's right.
they're going to remove the memory and all that?
Yeah. So, to your point, yeah, if they're going to remove the memory of them within Ortegas, then I I'd like to see a version without the Metron.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I'm totally good with the idea of homages back to TOS, but at the same time, it's like, okay, at what cost,
Yeah.
right? Um, what is too many homages to the point where you feel like maybe they're just copying old episodes and doing them again, but with just changing some of the names of stuff and
Yeah.
updating them and everything. I'm not saying they did that in this episode necessarily, because I do think it was a great episode. I really liked this episode a lot. I thought this was I like this episode a lot better than the last two. And I know, one of those two was more of a lighthearted one than this, but
Yeah.
I felt like there were some lighthearted moments in this episode because of Ortegas's humor and quick wit. So it was a little bit of a
Yeah.
balance of both.
Yeah, like this came to my mind, but without the Metron scene, you could have had the opportunity for another scene post Leon killing the Gorn, right? You could have had this opportunity for another scene amongst all of them where Ortegas is saying, "Hey, this is what happened. The Gorn saved me, did this," and you could have had them kind of talking amongst each other, kind of coming to an understanding of, oh, the Gorn saved Ortegas in this scenario. Like there's more to
Yeah.
the Gorn than we realize, and have them kind of think about that, right? Kind of this reflection on like what happened.
Yeah.
Um,
My concern though with that, Chris,
yeah.
is that eh, my concern with this episode is that this is going to be a one-off. So when we see the
Mm.
Gorn again, because we will, I guarantee there has to be another Gorn, at least one more Gorn episode, if not multiple, before the show's end, before the end of this of the series as a whole. My concern is that this episode will be a one-off and that they will not incorporate what Ortega's experience was with the Gorn into future meetings, and it will just be back to, okay, the Gorn are slasher killers. They're gonna just destroy everything, and we gotta shoot first and ask questions later. Idea. And um, I would have liked to have seen, if you get rid of the Metron scene, I would have liked to have seen a scene between Ortegas and La'an back on the
Yeah.
ship
Yeah.
where she talks about how, well, you shot my friend, my friend, and or La'an's, what are you talking about? That's a Gorn. She was trying to kill you, and she's like, no, she's trying to save me, and she did this, and this, and maybe it almost is like a revelation to Lon, and she's dumbfounded because she doesn't know anything other than kill and destroy with the Gorn because of all of her experiences in her life. So that could have been a really interesting conflict between those two characters if you had gotten rid of the Metron scene, right? And it was literally just these two, this Gorn and Ortegas had both crashed on this planetoid because of the wormhole, and there was no other being or creature that was responsible for that.
Yeah, you hit a great point with Leon, that conversation between Ortegas and Leon.
One they
Let
never had, at
One
least
they
in the
never
show.
had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or let's think about a different idea too. See how you feel about this. What if it was Leon on the planet and not Ortegas? It was Leon and the Gorn.
Ooh, that would have run deeper
Hmm.
because Ortegas's experience is somewhat recent, right? In
Yeah,
Hegemony Part 2. La'an's runs way back to when she was a kid and her family was killed. We know her brother kind of helped get her out of there, but we pretty much figure her brother was killed because in fact, I think he was or something. We have to assume at least. But her family's all gone, right? So
yeah,
that could have cut really deep, metaphorically speaking. That could have cut really, really deep into the
yeah,
character of Lon if that had been the case.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can. I would have liked to see that. That
Yeah.
would have been, I think, powerful.
Yes. However, my only counter argument to that, Chris, would have been that I think it was awesome that we finally got an episode that was
Yeah,
really, really like Ortegas forward,
agree.
because I thought Michelle Navia did an excellent job in this episode. I thought she really played the character. Well, she does all the time, anyways. But in this episode in particular, it was awesome to see them focus on the character, and her portrayal in this episode was really, really awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Ortegas uses the phrase "let's light this candle"
yeah,
like a couple times
yeah, that was
in the
funny.
episode. Yeah, and so that was the phrase, paraphrased a little bit, but from Alan Shepard, the
Hmm.
first person in the space, which was
Yeah, first U.S. astronaut in
yeah,
space, right?
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I
that's true.
think it's fantastic actually that they bring it in
Yeah.
to Strange New Worlds. You
Well,
know.
Star Trek's always, I think, done a good job of bringing in real life space history and space exploration history and astronauts and stuff into Star Trek. We've seen that beginning all the way back in TOS,
Hmm.
right? Early space exploration into that. And so I think that is awesome that reference is put in here that Ortega says. Um, but I think that's a really good point you made, Chris. That would have been awesome because I think it would have been even more impactful to have La'an have to face a Gorn
Yeah,
with no phaser to protect her and all this stuff. I will say, in Ortegas's favor, she clearly was the character that was much more handy and able to do all of the building of the stuff to help her survive than I think
yeah,
La'an would have been able to do.
yeah. Agree with that. I mean, this it worked great for Ortegas's character and this her journey, Ortegas's journey throughout this season was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll see. I mean, I don't know that we need like another um one similar to this theme, just just for Leon, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with the Leon. I mean, the holodeck episode with Leon um was very Leon centric, and so
Yeah,
that
but that
worked.
was too focused on her feelings for Spock. Ugh. And don't even get me started,
Well,
Chris. No,
yeah. Yeah, so this episode, Terrarium, like had no romance like subplot,
that's
right?
true. There wasn't time for that.
Yeah,
Ain't no one got time for that when you're dealing with the Gorn, I guess, huh?
that's right.
Yeah.
No time for that.
That is true, though. You make an excellent point. It was nice to have a break from the La'an Spock cooties and the and the weirdness and the awkwardness of the chapel and the Dr. Corby and the Spock and the La'an and all the like Love Island reality TV junk stuff that's crept into the Star Trek series. I agree. And I'm not against
Yeah,
like, the romantic relationships. Those happen in Star Trek, obviously. And we've seen that across Star Trek with with I mean, there really wasn't much of that in the crew in TOS. I mean, Kirk was always off, sleeping with alien women and stuff like that. But as far as inner crew, there wasn't really much of that at all that I can think of. I mean, there was the first interracial kiss with Uhura and Kirk, but that was a bizarre situation.
yeah,
The way they had it was like a one-off scenario, right? Um, but you got into TNG and you got some of that with obviously Riker and Troy, and then the Worf Troy thing that we don't talk about. And you got that in DS9 for sure with Dax and Worf, and with Ezri and Bashir, and so forth. To a certain extent, you get Cassidy and Cisco, but and you get it in Voyager with B'Elanna and Tom. So you
yeah,
you have some of that, right? But I think it was fairly tastefully done with most of it. Although there was that one weird episode where B'Elanna and Paris kept meeting in weird places and like making out, and you're like, what's going on here? And then Janeway gets word of it, and she's like, okay, knock it off. Like your senior officers, knock it off, basically. I will say that's one thing about Janeway. Janeway didn't tolerate that crap amongst her crew. She really didn't. She didn't tolerate the insubordination and all the all that stuff. I just felt like she was very, I don't know. I like that about Janeway.
yeah,
Do you feel like Pike has become maybe too soft as the show's gone on? I know we just kind of talked about that briefly earlier, but I really feel like Pike has kind of allowed his crew to run wild a little bit with some stuff.
yeah. Yeah. I think him, like, facing his own like known mortality.
Mm.
Yeah,
Maybe he's more
it
lenient
did
because he
some.
knows of what his future is gonna with is what his future holds.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, but I do think it took an effect on Pike, and so I do feel he is more like lenient, as you say, more casual.
Yeah, to a certain.
Maybe Captain Jellicoe had something there. Captain Jellicoe was like right on, you know? Captain
Hey,
Jellicoe brought
look,
some discipline.
I think Captain Jellicoe gets a bad rep because I do think that all Jellicoe was looking for was a little order and discipline on the ship
Yeah.
especially from his senior officers, and I don't think that was too much to ask, right? But we can that's a whole nother that episode. It was Chain of Command part 1 and 2, right? It's one where
Yeah.
Picard leaves the ship, right? That certainly could be a leadership deep dive episode that we do on that two-parter, with the different leadership styles between Picard and Jellicoe, and whether Jellicoe is being unreasonable and stuff. That could be a fun future deep dive.
Oh, it totally could. It
And
totally
we
could.
talked about this before, right? About doing a spotlight series sometime. It would be fun to kind of talk about like the different admirals and like some of the different captains that came on board, and whether or not they were just like lunatics or whether they were actually had a point. Like, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
you think about it, and like our dear friend Natalia and Admiral Nechayev. There's a lot there to unpack, and a lot that I think you and I feel Nechayev had a very valid point with Picard on a number of things, and so forth. But anyway, so okay, final thoughts, Chris, on
Yeah.
Terrarium. Give me your overall for the episode and where you kind of see this fit in season 3.
Oh, I think I see it fit in on the upper half of season three, and I'm still thinking through the ranking. We're going to do the ranking, so I'm still thinking of
Yeah.
like how it will rank. But certainly on the upper half of season three, I thought this type of familiar story is always good to include in whatever series of Star Trek, and just in general to include in sci-fi and TV and kind of explore like biases and people getting over that and people kind of to learn to accept and understand new cultures. So like overall, I felt like positive about it, and I thought that or it was great to have this spotlight episode on Ortegas, and I'm really glad it wasn't um, a spotlight on Ortegas's insubordination or bad attitude,
Yes.
right? This
Yeah.
was like a spotlight on Ortegas, and I was very positive on Ortegas. I'm grateful for that. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad that we got to see the Ortegas that we've come to know and love over the first, 2+ seasons.
yeah. Yeah. Your thoughts, my friend.
I love this episode. I really
Uh,
did. I thought it was incredibly well written, as I've said many times throughout this our discussion here. And I thought that the approach, even if you went out on a limb and said, this is just a ripoff of Arena, all they did was take the Arena episode from TOS and they reworked it. It's the same exact thing, just some with some differences. Even if you think that, it doesn't matter. It's still a great episode. I don't think that, but I think it's a great episode. I have a few issues with a couple of things here, but in general, it was really well done. That end scene where they beam down, of course, it's all red shirts that beam down, led by a red shirt in lawn. Okay, remember in Wedding Bell Blues when you said you really disliked what Chapel did? I
yeah.
really disliked the fact that La'an shot first and didn't stop and take like another second or a second and a half. And I know her thought was she's got to do it right away because she thought that the Gorn, because of the way they came out of the heat shield and way the Gorn came out, it looked like the Gorn was going after Ortegas to kill her, so she had to hurry up and shoot. And she's protecting a crew member and her friend. I get that. I just wish if she would have taken like an extra second or second and a half, maybe that wouldn't have happened. So I really feel awful for Ortegas. I would have liked to have seen them been able to have taken the Gorn and been able to have taken the Gorn back to her people. Maybe that would have allowed there to be some type of repair of relations between the Gorn and humanity and the Federation and humanity, but the Federation. But then again, that would have affected their ability to do any really gnarly Gorn episodes in the
Hmm.
future. Do you feel like so overall, Chris, definitely top half.
Yeah.
I think for me, in we'll see what episode 10 looks like, and we'll do our ranking. But for me, definitely top half, and I'll save kind of where I think
It's
this
great.
falls for our ranking. Once we see episode 10 and we kind of figure all that out. But in general, yeah, top half for sure. Agreed. I didn't cry, but I was very emotionally moved when Ortegas got so upset because of her friend had been killed.
Yeah.
They built
It,
all that up just for them to kill the Gorn at the end. That was really rough.
yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah. I I wasn't surprised that that was the ending where the Gorn was, was killed.
Yeah.
Um, but I did think like I totally feel 100% similar to you. You get the red shirts beaming down. They beam down with phaser rifles. Is like it was weird almost.
Yeah.
They beam down, bam, they're armed, completely armed.
How
And
did
then
they? I mean, how did they know anything was going to be there, right? I mean, I
right.
guess it would be a way team protocol, right? Something Ortegas didn't follow.
Yeah, but that was like that's heavy armaments for like a away team. So I totally feel the same way you do. They come down like they were armed for combat. And
Yeah,
then
guns ablazing and
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
and then boom. And I'm thinking there there was no stun setting.
Yeah, right. Don't they normally have it on stun first?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's yeah.
So I felt like hmm. that aspect of it, I'm like, like so. As just as you, I'd like to see a version where perhaps the Gorn was able to go back to her own people, and that's just how it ends.
Yeah.
Um,
Or what if they just stun the Gorn? They beam the Gorn up to the ship, and she dies on the ship due to the injuries she had gotten from the creatures on the surface. And Dr. Mbenga, there was nothing Dr. Mbenga could do. And
yeah,
and then Ortegas has a moment there with her friend, Vice having one of the main characters, unfortunately my favorite character, just straight up haul off and shoot the Gorn really quickly, and then she dies. Like that could have still been a really touching, emotional moment there in the sick bay, with her friend dying, but dying from the injuries that she received while down there, and not dying from another crew member shooting her dead on the scene.
agree, agree. Yeah,
You could have still had the
because
same impact.
yeah, because I did feel just as you had odd that the way team comes down and just guns a blazing. Like
Yeah.
that was yeah.
Like they didn't know the Gorn was down there. I don't think there was any indications in the episode that they knew the Gorn was there, right? They
Yeah.
were going down to rescue Ortegas.
And they could have beamed Ortegas back. I think, right?
Well, if they could beam down, why didn't they just beam her up? Right? I
Yes. That is Zach, yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know, Chris. I don't know.
That yes.
It doesn't make any sense. Just like the giant storm, every time the planet gets too close to the gas, or that body gets too close to the gas giant, the storm is just screaming through there. But it's not, because Ortegas is just chilling. So
All
I
right,
don't know.
who gave the order to send an away team down? Was it Una? We need to like dissect
Yeah,
this.
probably it's probably Una. She's like, all right, hurry up and go get her so we can leave. We got the vaccines. We gotta get the vaccines out of here. I don't know.
Uh,
It doesn't
yeah.
make sense to me, but
No.
yeah, I definitely think we agree on the fact that there could have been a couple different ways they could have done a different ending, and it still had the same emotional impact, right?
Yeah.
Um, so for those of you watching and listening, let us know your thoughts. What did you think of the episode? Just like any of the other ones, what did you think of the episode? What were your thoughts on the ending? Yeah, we always want to hear what your thoughts are. If you think we're both a couple of crazy lunatics for our thoughts, or whether you completely agree with us or somewhere in between. Either way, we love interacting with all of you and hearing those thoughts. But next week, Chris, is the season finale of season 3, and there was some teasers out there about. I sent you a link, I texted you a link about it.
Oh, okay.
Check it out. There's some little teasers for next week. Nothing spoiling, just some teasers about what the episode might be about. But yeah, I'm interested to see how they end the season. And also, Chris, do you think that we're going to get a cliffhanger again in season 3?
I think we're gonna get a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Yes.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. I'm
Okay.
hoping we don't have to wait as long for season 4, because they already
Yeah.
filmed season 4. In fact, they're filming season 5 right now, possibly.
Okay.
One of the directors, Jordan Canning, had put a picture up on Instagram uh, that showed that they were in production for one of the episode 2 of season 5 or something. So
Excellent.
so I would assume they're working on season 4 right now to get it put together and get it ready to be released. But hopefully we don't wait as long. It seems like we wait almost a year in between seasons, and it just seems like it takes forever to get to the next season. So if there's a cliffhanger, we might be waiting a while.
Yeah. I don't want to wait as long either, my friend. Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully we don't.
So really quickly, Chris, any predictions for episode 10 before it comes out, with the knowing the title that we know, which is New Life and New Civilizations? Any predictions for that title and what we could be seeing in the season
Ooh.
finale?
Oh, I'm at a blank on the title, but I predict I think that Kirk is going to be in it. I I
Probably.
I kind of, he's been
Yeah.
coming in and out.
Yeah.
Um, New life and new civilizations.
I'm thinking some new species or some new
Yeah,
civilization they discover. I mean, kind of makes sense to me.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Has there an alien that they haven't met yet that's in Legacy? I'm trying to think.
Oh yeah, I mean, there definitely has been.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tholians. I don't think that we've had the Tholians in Strange New
Mm-mm.
Worlds, right? That's one that's pretty predominantly well known.
But right,
There's a
right.
number. Yeah,
Tholians have been in
they were an Enterprise.
Enterprise. Yeah.
Yep, they were an Enterprise. I don't think they've been in Strange New Worlds. So curious on your predictions, all of you watching and listening. If you're watching this or listening to this before episode 10 comes out, let us know in the comments below or send us a message on social media or an email and let us know what your predictions are for the season finale. One more question, Chris, as we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Do you think in the season finale there is a potential that we lose a main character from the show? They did it with Hemmer towards the end of season one. We didn't get any main character deaths in season two. But do you think there's a chance that we get a non-legacy main character die at the end of season three, or at least be on the brink of death as a cliffhanger? We got that a little bit with Patel, right? At the end of season two, the
Yeah.
cliffhanger with what was going to happen with her, knowing she was infected by the Gorn. Do you think any of these characters we've come to know and love so much are going to have something happen to them?
I think I don't know about this episode, but perhaps in the series, I think there's a chance, Palia, we'll see what her fate is, right? So, because Scotty, I mean, in the near future, Scotty's going to be chief engineer. He's gonna,
Yeah,
so something like may happen to Palia. Um, or she just goes back to the academy and teaches there, or does something there. I, I I really hope no one dies
same.
in this
Yeah,
show. Yeah.
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 Like I said before, I have my fears that they're gonna whack one of the characters. One of the characters is gonna go away. One of the
Hmm.
non-legacy characters. They would be. I think that there would be rioting in the streets of Trekkies if they killed off a legacy character as like a shock and all. Like, oh, hey, guess what? Scotty dies. Like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. Like that'd be absurd. But somebody like Lon or Ortegas or Pelly, although Pelly has been around a long time,
Yeah.
you just have to wonder. Ortegas and Lon have had some close calls, and they've been through a lot, and it makes me wonder if one of those characters is in line for something to happen.
Yeah.
Again, we hope
Yeah.
not.
Hope
Obviously, we hope
not.
not, but we'll see what happens. So, anyways, all right. Well, we are 9 episodes down with one to go, and we look forward, everybody who watches and listens to us, to bring you our review of the season three finale of Strange New Worlds entitled New Life and New Civilizations next weekend as we look forward to wrapping up Strange New Worlds season three and moving on to other things we have lined up, including special guests that we have not announced yet, as well as our Halloween series for fall time, which is coming soon. I know, Chris, we got to do a little bit of planning for that, but I
Do.
know we've got a number of really awesome ideas and the introduction of a new franchise a new franchise into our podcast that we have not
Yeah.
discussed as part of our Halloween series.
Yeah. It's gonna be great to do the Halloween series. I mean, I'm gonna go back and take a look at a lot of alien-esque stuff, right? So that's
Yeah.
gonna be fun to do. Yeah.
It will be. And we've got some brand new, well, not brand new. We haven't done them in the past as deep dives for our previous Halloween series last year, the year before last, but we've got some new episodes that we want to deep dive as part of the
Mhm.
Halloween series that will get you prepared as we are entering this fall time that you are really going to enjoy. I know a lot of you really enjoyed our Halloween series last year when we deep dived The Haunting of Deck 12 from Star Trek Voyager,
Yeah.
that was just such a fun episode. I
Yeah.
love that episode. It's so good. And then we also deep dived Impulse from Enterprise with some
Yeah.
Vulcan zombies. That was a blast. So if you enjoyed our Halloween series the last 2 years, be sure to stay tuned as we look forward to bringing that to you soon. And we got to wrap up our Section 31 Spotlight series. which culminates in us watching the Star Trek Section 31 movie and vomiting all over our keyboards and and being and being completely in emotional wrecks from the absolute dumpster fire that we've been told this movie is. Who knows? We'll see. We're going to try to go into it with an open
Hmm?
mind, but it just
Show.
the more I hear about it, Chris, the more I am scared that we are going to be let down hard by this movie.
Yeah, or perhaps we'll love it and then we'll like have this whole other dimension of talking about it and
Yeah.
how we shall defend like Section 31. So it shall be
Yeah.
very, yeah, I look forward
And
to
then
that. That's
we'll
for
lose
sure.
about 500 subscribers. But that's okay though. That's fine. It's just our opinions, guys. No, just kidding. But anyways, yes, thank you everybody as always so much for watching and listening all over the globe and the interwebs. We hope you've enjoyed episode 9 Terrarium review with us. And again, be sure to go on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, YouTube. Yeah, I think I covered them all.
Mm.
Favorite podcast platform, all that good jazz. You can email us on our email that's on all of our socials, and let us know what you thought about this episode and others. And we look forward to talking to you next week for the season finale of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, right here on the Random Redshirt podcast. Take care, everybody.